babies.
Welcome to my sports show, special edition here. We got a conversation with Khari Thompson of Boston.com and host of the B-Side Sports. We're here to talk all things Boston sports, Patriots, Celtics, but we're going to dabble into a couple side topics in the woods and prehistoric times, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
What's happening, Khari? How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
The Celtics are dumb front-running pussies. This is the same team they have been for 4 years running.
Well, my worst nightmare came true. Missoula and Mayo are friends. What the fuck? Apparently they've known each other since Virginia. They have these docking sessions where they talk about ball and managing people.
Vacation. I'm gonna quay all these. I'm gonna fucking watch them this week.
Do you say quay?
Is it not quay?
It's Q. It's Q. It's Q-U-E. You idiot. I got something troubling on my mind. I got something troubling on. So we were just chatting a little bit in the pre-meeting here, and we wanted to let's just kick it off Patriots because I think that's got the most meat on the bone, and we can take it to a couple different directions there. Let's go. Let's just go big, overarching question. Patriots offseason. Right off the bat. So we've been talking about this. We actually just got off with Trenny, Casey, NBC Sports.
Hey, Trenny.
Yeah, Trenny's awesome. So at 4, what time's the game going to end on Sunday?
4:20-ish, somewhere around there.
4:20.
Okay, let's call it 4:28. If Jerod Mayo is not fired, what's your thought process there?
I hope he's Dan Campbell. Because I mean, basically, like that's the standard that you're kind of going for right here. Because look, I mean, most third-year most head coaches that only win like 3 games in their first year, you don't expect them to succeed. And Dan Campbell's really the one that is the example. And again, it's not like it's impossible that it can get better from here. As a matter of fact, I would expect that it would get better from here. Because the Patriots, we came into this year kind of knowing they were going to be bad. I know a lot of people are like, I didn't expect it to be this bad. I'm like, I don't know. You just haven't been around enough bad teams. I think that's the thing. I've seen enough and rooted for enough bad teams that I'm just like, oh yeah, it could totally be this bad. But I think, clearly that means they've got faith in him, and clearly the players have been very vocal about their support of him, despite the 3-14 record. So I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world. I do think history says that if there's a time to get out, it's probably now. Don't wait too long. If you're unsure in any way, right? If you think that Jerod Mayo is not the guy to lead your team to a Super Bowl, then I feel like it is perfectly okay to get out, no matter what you said, no matter what the agreements were. It's like, in the end, you're in the business of winning. It is what it is. If they decide that they want to win with him, okay, then you better beef this roster up and prove it.
You said that you've rooted for a lot of bad teams. Do you think the Patriots are going to be this bad as the first overall pick?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought they were going to be in that realm. I mean, I told people before the season, I was like, if you get 5 wins, you should be ecstatic. So like 5 or 6 wins, you should be like, yes, oh my God, this is incredible. But yeah, no, 3 wins for this roster. Again, like, we can talk about the coaching and all that, but for the roster, what it is, especially when you think about the injuries on the defensive side of the ball and just the going into it, knowing who your tackles were, we knew that this was not going to be a particularly good team.
Well, let's talk about that though, because on the flip side of what the decision to be made to bring Mayo back, and on the defensive side of not bring Mayo back, but anoint him, basically, no interview process for any head coach, no interview process for a GM. They, except for the offensive side of the ball, bringing AVP in and filling some of those roles, because a lot of people don't mention this and forget
Bill O'Brien left he fired himself the second that season ended last year, bolted to Ohio State, the first job he could get, and
Boston
then got a
College.
job at Boston. No, Ray, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah,
He
true.
went to Ohio State.
Went to Ohio State
hired
first,
at
and
Boston
then went to BC.
That's how desperate he was to get the hell out of here. Otherwise, he would have been back too. They wanted to run the whole ship back, and they thought that it was the dysfunction of Bill Belichick that was keeping them from that 6 or 7 win ballpark and ball game. And if they could just tighten things up, give Jerod Mayo the keys. He's a big culture guy. We saw that in Jerusalem. He brought some people together in an airport, and they really listened to him. So he's got to be the guy, right? Elliot Wolf, he's been picking the groceries for the last 2 or 3 years. That's worked out great. They brought everybody that would come back and expected it to be better simply because Bill Belichick wasn't here.
I think
they got worse offensively because O'Brien was like, "Peace, I can see the writing on this wall. I'm out."
We got to be careful, because what does it mean to be better, right? And I don't think they expected to be a better team, and you could see that by the way they put the roster together. They didn't even try. They didn't try to spend any of that money. No,
right.
Not at all.
Go on, no, finish. I go ahead.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. Let's see where we're going.
No, that's a fucking indictment on them. Like, if it's, I think they did try, and I think they failed. I think Elliot Wolf did try, and I think he failed. I think he tried, and this is my opinion, right? And I mean, everybody can feel free to disagree. Nobody goes into a season trying to be the number 1 overall pick, right? No. Or trying to win only 3 games. So absolutely. They were trying to put together some bargain bin style pieces and obviously draft Drake May, the future of the franchise, do all that, right? They were trying to put together a competitive team, but they had a rookie head coach with an offensive coordinator who wasn't from this organization. So you got to see how that works. You knew they didn't have no damn receivers. They were trotting out Vidarian Lowe and Chuks Okorafor as your tackles. But you just got to look at the way that it was constructed. They weren't thinking this was going to be better. They were just trying to do something new and different. And here's my theory about Bill Belichick, right? So obviously, you get rid of him and all of that. I think, and this is one of the big things everybody's like, yeah, well, Bill Belichick was still here, they would be like a 6 or 7 win team. It wouldn't be this bad. Maybe, but I don't think he was drafting Drake May, and I think that was probably one of the reasons he's not here, is because I think that at this stage in his career, he was not trying to run it back with no rookie quarterback. You've 15 wins away from breaking the all-time wins record. I think he wanted to find a vet and patch it up, trade down from number 3, and stack up some things, do the whole thing, do the whole Bill Belichick thing that he always does. And I have a feeling that they were like, nah, man, we're starting this gig over. And if you're not on board with that, I'm sorry. And he was like, okay, cool. All right, cool. We're done.
So for 2025, is that what you want them to do, though? Is to trade back?
Just let me go back to the Belichick, because we're not done
Let's do the Belichick.
Then we'll go forward. Because in Belichick's defense, what he wanted to do before the end of last year was trade Mac Jones, sign Baker Mayfield. And that would have got them 6 or 7 wins. And you would have been still the head coach in the New England Patriots. And the Crafts did say no, and they wouldn't let him trade him. And then they gave Jerod Mayo the head coaching job behind his back. And Mayo walked around the building with a baseball bat on his shoulder, showing up late to meetings, undermining him, and then they went to hell. So if you look at, it's a hard thing. I don't know what the theory is called, but just because this happens doesn't mean this happens. It's hard to do that with Bill Belichick because of all the moving pieces there. I'm not saying that if he stayed this year, they would have been a much better team. Dysfunction had taken over. He had to go. I agree with that. But the reasons for that, I don't think have been totally fleshed out specifically in the media. And I think Jerod Mayo and the Crafts are probably, Belichick's to blame. But I'm pretty close to 50-50 and why it got so bad at the end.
And I mean, and again, that's the kind of stuff that, we're not going to know. And clearly the way that he's talked about it afterwards, like he's bitter. He's absolutely bitter about the way that it all went down. And if you're looking at it, and again, this is a, 10,000-foot view media thing, if you're an outsider and you're looking at the state of the Patriots now, Bill Belichick's come out of this whole deal looking a whole lot better than Robert Kraft is. Though you could also say, well, nobody else in the NFL wanted Bill Belichick because he wanted all the power and he wanted to do things his own way, et cetera, et cetera. And no one else was going to let him do what Robert Kraft let him do 24 years ago. And I think here's the thing, like with Mayo, right? I think there's this element of if he stays, right? If Kraft keeps him, I think there's this element of, well, hey, look, I went with my gut 24, 25 years ago with this dude who failed in his first head coaching gig, right? What was he like 36-54, in his time with the Cleveland Browns. And I went with my gut with that guy and gave him all this power and trusted him when no one else would have. And look what we got out of it. And give me time. I have a good feeling about this. Now, the thing is, just because it worked one time doesn't mean it's going to work next time. And you got to be prepared that if it's not going to work and it's not going to work, you have to be prepared to jump ship on that. So look, but here's the thing. If they keep Mayo and he flames out, then that is 1,000% on Robert Kraft. And you got to be like, you screwed up. That's on you. You were the one who decided you wanted the guy who hadn't even been a coordinator at any level yet. Yeah. You had the feeling and your feeling was wrong. And then that's going to call into a whole lot more questions about the way that he handled the end of the Bill Belichick tenure.
Yeah, and we think, and I'll throw over to Bobby for his opinion here on Mayo before we move into what's next. We think that you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, but you can make that Kraft should be able to make that decision now and say, I've screwed this up. You have a year to assess. We've seen what Mayo is as a head coach, and although not put in the right position to succeed, he has not shown any type of he's given us no evidence to the fact that he can improve this roster and move it forward. Would you agree with that, Bobby, or what are your thoughts on the scenario that they're in and how we got here? And then we'll talk about next steps.
Oh, wait, the scenario that we got here is 100% Robert Kraft's ego to this scenario that you were describing before, where he was trying to recreate the events that led him to bring Bill Belichick here with Jerod Mayo. He was trying to paint a picture so that it would show, hey, I'm actually responsible for the dynasty because I brought in Bill Belichick, and now I'm responsible for the rebuilding of the dynasty because I've brought in Jerod Mayo. The whole time just forgetting about that the only thing happened because they had the luckiest thing in the world ever to draft Tom Brady and have him be the greatest player of all time. Excuse me. But here's the thing with Mayo. He literally does not know what he's doing. We've watched him throughout the season could completely fail at having a basic organization. We have other people in the league saying that he's light on football in football meetings. We won't be able to get viable candidates in if he is left there, even if we scapegoat a coordinator or two. It just has to be blow out everything and start over with a legitimate crew that knows how to run a football operation.
Yeah, I think that's sentiment. We'll see what they do. Regardless of that, I think we can talk about, and I've kind of followed your Twitter stuff there, Khari, and some of the stuff that you've wrote. So I have a little bit of an idea of your opinions as we move in. I want to talk free agency and then draft.
Real quick, breaking news: Celtics survive against the T-Wolves, 118-115.
I was going to record that and watch it later, but no big deal.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, no, we don't have to watch it. Thanks, appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm chronically online. You got a deal.
You are the Matrix. Actually, my wife literally texted me 2 seconds ago. She goes, "This game is crazy." So that's right. It's better watching knowing that they won. Let's do free agency. Then I want to do draft. Okay. Are you a T. Higgins or bust guy, knowing that there are a million things that they need to address? But wide receiver obviously being one of the top of the list, offensive line being right next to it. Where do you stand on T. Higgins in that wide receiver room, or do you go offensive line? Where are you in the free agency pecking order? $130 million in cap space, a lot of cash. Where do you think they should go? Or where do you think they will go?
Well, to me, I think in free agency, you shoot big first, and that's T. Higgins to me. I would, if he hits free agency, which is not a guarantee that he will, but I think there's a good chance that he might. I mean, there's just too much money.
He will. Bengals won't pay him.
I mean, you got to pay Jamar Chase. I'm sorry, you got to pay him, right? There's
the priority for him.
justify not paying Jamar Chase. So, and I think if you're going to do that, I don't think you can keep T. Higgins. I don't think it's possible. So, assuming T. Higgins hits free agency, I think you slide him the check and you let him write the numbers in, and we go from there. Because yes, you need to improve a ton. You need to improve the wide receiver room. You got to improve the offensive line. You got to improve the defensive line. You got to improve the line. That's the thing, right? Is as we talk about, oh yeah, Bill Belichick had the defense looking so much better last year, and it's like, yeah, I would expect Bill Belichick, who's coached for 50 years, to be better at coaching defense than Jerod Mayo and DeMarcus Covington. But the thing is, you look at that side of the ball, the front seven is terrible. Like the linebacker play.
They have the worst linebackers in the NFL.
Oh my God.
They had the worst linebackers in the NFL under Belichick,
and
too.
some of it is they're playing out of position. Jelani Tavai is not an inside linebacker. He's an edge. He should be up on the line of scrimmage, thumping people and doing that. You can't rush the passer, but early down edge. He should be like an Anthony Jennings, right? But you got him playing inside linebacker, even though he can't run, he can't cover. And then you've got like losing Jawan Bentley was just god awful. And I don't think you don't understand how good a guy like that is until you don't have him. Right. So anyway, not to get too far off on the tangent, but you got to improve the front seven on defense too. There's so much stuff wrong with this team. But the thing that with the most upside that is going to help you with Drake May, who I think looks like he's going to be a star, get him the number one guy, get it for him. And then even if you add nothing else, which of course they will, you got T. Higgins, and then you finally have some opening up for Pop Douglas to run around under the middle and break people down from the slot, which that's the thing. With Kayshon Boutte being your number one receiver, which I think Kayshon Boutte he showed us something that he can be like a 2 or 3.
I was just going to ask that. Are Boutte and Douglas good enough to be slotted down if you get a Higgins or a number one? Are they good enough to remain on the roster and be your 2 or 3 wide receiver?
I think Kayshon Boutte is like a low end number 2, like number 3 type receiver, and Pop Douglas is like a number 3, slot kind of receiver. And then you've got Hunter Henry, who I think is perfectly dependable. But again, you get a real number 1 receiver, a real X receiver on the outside, and then you can see how this whole thing opens up. So that's my first target. If there was
biggest question on that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, although you asked us to, is T. Higgins that guy?
I don't think
or does it matter if you're the Patriots? Do you just get him to start the ball rolling down the track of rebuilding? Maybe he's not that guy, and maybe you blow the $30 million a year for the next 4 years, and it doesn't matter because he's good, not great, but you have to make that step.
I think he's a mid-tier number 1. So he's not like okay, here I think that on another team.
Is he another Kendrick Bourne? Sorry to interrupt you. Is he another Kendrick?
Oh God, no.
Kendrick
because
Bourne
they brought
blows, Ray.
No, but they brought Kendrick Bourne into being that number 1
Kendrick
guy.
Bourne
And he
doesn't
blew.
know how to run routes. He literally runs the wrong route every game and then publicly apologizes for it. He's on record.
I've never heard the apology. I want to hear the apology, Bobby.
On Twitter, he'll be like, "Yeah, that was bad ball by me. Like I messed up, or like I didn't make the."
I didn't hear any I'm sorries. I didn't see any of it
from the Patriots. He is a grifter. That is what he is.
Here's the thing. You cannot compare TJ. You can't compare T. Higgins to Kendrick Bourne. That's not it.
We
Kendrick
can ask Ray to leave.
Formerly undrafted receiver, right? Who had a good year or 2 in San Fran. And look, adding Kendrick Bourne to your wide receiver room and being like, oh yeah, I think he'll be one of the best 2 receivers on the team. That's a team building issue. And that tells you what Bill Belichick thought of like the wide receiver position. Right. But in the modern NFL, you need a guy who's more like T. Higgins, who he's not
but not Belichick. Wolf gave him an extension for $9 million a year when he had blown ACL. Well, that happened 8 months ago.
Well, yes. And the reason for that being, and the reason for a bunch of these extensions, honestly, is because I think they were like, yo, we got players that we know in-house. We might as well just keep them. And for culture reasons and locker room reasons, and they, kind of know how we do things here and et cetera. And I don't think they thought they were going to be able to get a whole bunch better on free agency because they were like, who's going to want to come here with Bill Belichick gone and we're blowing this whole thing up and everybody knows. So we might as well just keep the guys that we got. But here's the thing. You've got Drake May now. And yeah, you got questions about the head coach or whatever, though, even though the players are like, hey, man, like he's cool, he's a player's coach, you'll like him, etc. But you've got Drake May, and everyone has seen Drake May. Everybody is talking about how good this dude is. Wide receivers are totally going to want to play for that guy and play with him, right? That's a real young quarterback right there. Now, T. Higgins, he's a second round pick. He's not like some scrub. He's a really good player. Now, is he going to be a top 5 receiver in the league? No. But you go ahead and you pay him the money, and like you said, you get the ball rolling, and then you draft, and you have young talent coming in behind him that maybe supplants him, and then you could if you're not liking T. Higgins' contract by the end of this and you're unhappy, you trade him if he's still productive, and hopefully have young talent that's coming in. That's how good teams do it.
Right.
You just got to get guys in. Ridley said no. You got to start to get
guys in. And really, what this is about, it's not even necessarily about is T. Higgins like a number one, like a top 5 receiver. It's about what are you doing to help Drake May? Okay, if you want to get him on that upward trajectory where he's blowing up, and then after 3 or 4 years, then you don't need a guy like T. Higgins anymore, because then Drake May is elevating the whole thing, which you're going to need once you have to pay him. Because by the time we're talking about paying Drake May, it's going to be $60 million a year. But for now, right, on a rookie deal, you pay that right now. And there's no tackle out there that's going to be worth that kind of money, right? The kind of tackles we're talking about in free agency are like, Alaric Jackson from the Rams, or like Patrick McCary, who's like kind of like the swing guy in Baltimore, but he's pretty decent, and he can always slot in pretty well at left or right side. Those are the kinds of free agent tackles you're talking about. So I think
we did the exercise today. We went the best available player at wide receiver, left tackle, edge, linebacker, and free safety, and at a rounded up percentage of the cap, you could pay all 5 of those guys, pay the top 5 guys at each position if you're the Patriots, and still have $24 million left over with the cap space allotted to them. So they had no excuse rolling into post free agency to not solidify the most pressing positions on their team. And when you have 5 pressing positions, one of them is left tackle, one of them is wide receiver, one of them is an edge rusher.
Literally the most important position.
Yeah, outside of quarterback, which, by the way, and I know these guys have some questions, I don't mean to monopolize. This is a little bit of a troller question, but are we totally sure about Drake May? Or are we just like, this team sucks so bad, and he's the one shining light that continues to make a bunch of mistakes, and we're just brushing it under the rug because he's a rookie and the team sucks? Are we totally sure? Yes, he's talented. Yes, he's big. He's got a big arm. Seems smart enough. Are we sure this dude's the dude?
I think he's it. I think he's the guy, because you look at some of the other things like sack avoidance. Like he is for a rookie.
Ray's mother's never encountered sack avoidance, by the way.
But for a rookie behind a horrible offensive line, he is an elite sack avoider. And I also think that you just watch him on film and the way that he operates, he's a really decisive player, right? So when it's time to run, he runs. When it's time to just, get the ball out fast, he's generally doing it. You don't necessarily see him make a ton of mistakes or a ton of throws where you're like, dog, what are you doing there? I don't understand that thought process. And he had 3 or 4 interceptions this year where they're just like in the guy's hands and they're like, actually, no, I want you to have this.
Yeah. He did have 2 game losing interceptions, Bobby.
That's
but
true.
What were you going to say?
Well, what I was going to say, I was going to bring up really my main criticism of any time that Drake May's been playing, there's been any real actual football in-game pressure, he's performed poorly. So he's talking like end of game drives, close games. He hasn't played very well. A lot of the stats in the second half when the game's already kind of out of hand.
Not any. I will push back on that a little bit, Bobby. And these are so this team's been so bad, and the opportunities to point these things out have been so limited. It feels kind of silly, but who was it? End of half, they drove down and got a field goal against the Bears. I want to say that was a nice. They had a nice drop to Booty, and they
spiked
it with 1 second left.
That was the Bears game, yeah.
and then the Titans game to get into overtime, the crazy throw to
Yeah, the throw. Yep. That
so I would
good.
like off the top of my head call him maybe 50-50 in those situations, understanding that the team around him sucks. So maybe that's a check in his box. But the game losing interceptions certainly stand out. I'm just saying we don't know because we haven't seen him totally in a competitive environment. Exactly.
My thought, honestly, with the rookie quarterbacks, go ahead and make those mistakes now. Throw your game-losing interceptions now. Screw up now when the team sucks and everything around you sucks and you want to play hero ball. And I put it this way. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn anything. You can't learn anything.
True.
So
I watched that Commanders Falcons game the other day, and Penix didn't make a mistake, and Daniels didn't make a mistake, and those dudes took like bona fide superstars right from the jump, especially Daniels. Obviously, we've seen him all year. Yeah. And when we've got Drake May in those situations, his team sucks. I get it. But he's scrambling a little bit. I think there's a question mark. I don't think he's bona fide.
Sure. I mean, look, we've only seen him for
that's not I'm not breaking news there. That's not I don't think that's a hot take. I just think there's a level of desperation hanging off of Drake May's
we want to see him
shoulders.
with we want to see him with two tackles, that there isn't memes where the tackles are turned around the other way watching their edge rushers go right at the quarterback. We want to see that and with just some normal receivers, because he isn't working.
You want to see Drake May with an NFL football team. You want to see him play
NFL offense, correct.
In the NFL.
NFL coaching too.
Raymond.
So you have the number one pick. I'm going to give you the GM hat. What do you do with that number one pick?
I'm trading with. Okay, look. As of right now, right?
As of today, yes. As of right now,
the order stays the same. I'm trading down with the Giants. I'm going down to number 4, and then I'm picking there. Now I know a bunch of people are just like, why not just stay at number 1 and take Travis Hunter? I feel like that's a misuse of funds. And that's not even a knock on Travis Hunter. It's not, because I think Travis Hunter's awesome. But in my mind, here's the calculus. You have your quarterback. You don't need to take a quarterback. Other teams, and you could talk about the quarterback class and, no one's going to want to trade. Yeah, they are. Yes, they are going to trade up. Like, I don't know if any of y'all even have had much of a chance to watch Cam Ward. Someone's going to want to trade up for Cam Ward because he might look.
He's going to be like Anthony Richardson. That's going to be accomplished. Something like that,
those
right?
are not. That's not comparable, because Anthony Richardson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in college. He had like a 50% whatever completion percentage in college, and he also only started for like one full season. Cam Ward's been playing forever. Like, he's got tons of experience, and you can see it back there. Like, he plays quarterback. He's not just an athlete running around, throwing the football. He plays quarterback. He makes real in the pocket quarterback throws down the middle of the field. Look to the right. Oh, it's not open. I'm going to hit the backside dig stuff that scouts are going to be like, that's it. Like, a lot of college quarterbacks do not / cannot do the basic thing. Like, even if you watch Cam Ward play, the play fakes that he makes are so good. He understands the little things about the position. We don't want to oversell Cam Ward, but I think somebody like the Giants, if they stay at 4,
he's better than the publicity that he's getting, maybe because he's playing in Miami. Not a lot of people have seen him or something.
Yeah, but I think that if the Giants are at number 4, and again, this is a team that tried to trade up for Drake May last year. Like, they tried to trade up for
with
Drake
a bullshit
May.
Offer.
But
they could have had it. They would have had him if they made the Patriots a legitimate offer.
Yeah, and I think that, again, there was that bit of let's test the waters with it, because it's all a cat and mouse game.
Well, because they had Daniel Jones at the time, so they really could be like, all right, we have Daniel Jones. We do have the QB1 right now. This is Drake May is going to be the guy that comes in afterwards. So they probably could be like, all right, we're going to give you a fortune offer.
They wanted to see what
Dayball knew that guy was a piece of shit. They didn't want Daniel Jones.
Well, of course, but the thing is, it's like you're got that guy making that much money, and you had to be absolutely 1,000% sure you were going to eat that money. That's a lot to decide to do, and eventually, obviously, they did it. But I think they were trying to see if they could get it on the cheap. This year, they got no quarterback. They have no future at the position. I have a feeling they're going to look at like Cam Ward. They're going to be like, man, this guy feels like New York, and I want it. And if that's the case, I'm 1,000% trading down with the Giants. And then I'm taking Abdul Carter. And I know that that's not a wide receiver. That's not Tet McMillan. That's not Travis Hunter. But I'm assuming that you've probably done a little bit there. And also, if you're trading down with the Giants, I'm trying to grab Darius Slayton from them. But I think that you need a freak blue chip athlete at any position. And Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, is a freaking freakazoid. And I want that guy because how many times do we look at this Patriots defense and be like, the quarterback's just out here and just chilling and he's reading a book. He's making himself a drink. He's over there like he's calling his girl. Oh, yeah. And then a guy wide open down the field, like hanging out, chilling for 6 seconds. Okay.
You haven't had a pass rush in years.
So just to back up that first round trade, whether it's Giants, I think you got Titans in a similar situation. They need a quarterback.
Yeah, they're at number 2, which I would consider that too.
That trade for me starts with next year's first round pick. If you don't get another first round pick and at least a third and a fourth or something after that, then you know what? Kick sand. I don't care. Kick rocks. See if you can deal with somebody else.
Yeah, that's the price. If you want to trade up for a quarterback, got to give up the first round pick. That's what the next year. And now if it's at 4, you're not getting most likely the first round pick the next year. But I think that if you nab another later round pick, and again, if there's a useful veteran like a Darius Slayton that you could get down with, then I would take that because that makes your receiving core better. That's not the last move that you make with the receiving core, but I think that's something you do.
Well, this is why I think it's so important to dial it back, and you have to trash Elliott Wolf and Mayo and the whole class. I don't trust anybody without experience to navigate this situation of the number 1 overall pick and getting the most out of it and then making the correct pick. I don't care if you're going from 1 to 2. I'm getting next year's first round pick. You know why? Because if you don't give it to me, this guy's going to give it to me. And if you don't give it to me, that guy's going to give it to me. And that's what good negotiators do. And that's what good GMs do. Good GMs take the number 1 pick and DJ Moore and whatever else the Bears got from those idiots down in Carolina. And they got 2 firsts. They got DJ Moore. They got like the second round picks. There's an idiot born every day. There is always someone to be fleeced, and there is always someone desperate. And I need someone in the Patriots war room who understands who that person is and fleeces them. So
yes, you got to rob somebody. And I just feel like, to me personally, when you're doing mock drafts, I don't want to see nobody mocking anyone to the Patriots at pick number 1 because they're not making that pick. And if they make that freaking pick, then at that point I'm like, okay, you're gone after the draft, Elliott. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can we switch gears a little bit, Ray? I know you have some dinosaur questions.
I do. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we interviewed a guy that was a flat earther. He also said that dinosaur heads were never found before. So what is the biggest misconception? Yeah, he was very hard on that. Dinosaur heads were never found. Which one it doesn't make sense?
They don't exist. To be clear, he said
that
dinosaurs were fake.
That in the interview and immediately found out that was not correct.
So okay,
never got a chance
they don't exist. So what are the ones that we have?
That's what I wanted to know. I want to know from you. What
that's a good question. Also, what is stars, gravity, and why does the sun set? Are all good questions for flat earthers. That's your only question from the dinosaur standpoint, Ray?
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to know what his thoughts were.
As somebody who has seen an actual dinosaur head, like a real one, poking out of the rocks.
No. He's
totally almost took my leg off. Except that it was an herbivore. Except for that. But yes, dinosaurs are a thing. I've seen them. I've dug them up. I've touched their bones and shoveled them up out of the earth and taken them back to the lab and worked on them and all that stuff. So yes, dinosaurs are real. That is a thing. But, it's interesting, talking about that, right? So I grew up in a very religious household, and at the same time, I was a big science guy, a dinosaur nerd. And, I went and I got a master's degree in biological sciences, et cetera, et cetera. I remember one time I was hanging out with my grandmother and one of my uncles, and they cornered me in the car when they were dropping me off at my dorm room and being like, so, how do you justify believing in God and believing in dinosaurs.
I was going to ask that. I was just asking that
I'm
question.
like, well, it's easy. It just didn't all happen the way they told you it happened. When you accept that, it's really simple. Because most of what people told you is wrong because they're idiots who don't know anything.
Like Jerod Mayo in front of a microphone. He's basically
somebody got to get a hold of this. Well, okay. And again, to get off on a slight tangent with him, I think that he realized this year, I hope somebody is helping him realize he is not a player anymore. And I think that a bunch of the responses that he's had to me and the defensive stuff and the crapping on, people screwing up. It's not the coach speak that we've heard for so long. It's like what you would get from a player in the locker room and who's pissed that they lost and hasn't mastered himself and put himself together for the press. Belichick, how many Belichick pressers did I see that I've been there for? Where it's like, we just got outplayed.
He didn't say a lot of shit.
He just got outplayed on both sides of the ball, and it's not good enough. And Mayo's just like, yeah, well, we screwed up, and you got to play better, man. What the hell's wrong with you?
Khari, you've been in the science world and the sports world. Have you ever been in like a corporate setting?
No, I've not. Okay.
Bobby and I have been in a corporate setting, Ray's a plumber. We understand what the type of things that Bobby is that Jerod is saying. It is corporate lingo bullshit, and none of it means anything. It's just a vague mask over what's happening that with no actual depth of intellect or intention or anything. To go back to our similar analogy, he is the Christianity and the team is real life. He is saying what he believes is happening, and then everyone else is like, he's just up there kind of fucking talking, and we're down here doing.
Well, that's what happens when you're caught between trying to be candid and trying to do coach speak, which is inherently bullshit. Right? Or it's like at its finest form, that's what it all is.
It all is. And it only matters when you're losing. Yeah, like Dan Campbell's full of shit, but they win.
Exactly. They're not supposed to tell you anything.
Right.
Right. And the moments they slip up and say something that's wrong, they're like, dog, come on. Like all you had to do is not. And as he has said, and as anybody would say, when you win, it doesn't matter. Right. Everybody puts up with it, but they're losing. And the thing is, we knew they were going to lose. But it doesn't matter because when you're losing, everybody loses patience because nobody wants to be on a losing team. Nobody wants to cover a losing team. Nobody wants to watch a losing team all year. And so, yeah, understandably, people are like, oh, like, just shut up. Just stop talking, or just go full Belichick and say absolutely nothing. And I feel like he started getting there towards the end of the year, but then you have the weird like, Gibby's going to start for us in this game, and then Ramondre's starting, and you're like, that's another one. Don't say nothing.
So, as a guy in the media, though, like when you were covering Belichick for all those years, are you pissed off that you like never got a soundbite, and now you have Mayo who's just giving you soundbite after soundbite after soundbite, like? You wanted that probably. And
I feel differently about it because to me, I'm a read between the lines kind of guy, or I'm just you give me what you give me. And then I tell you what happened, or I tell you my take on it. It is what it is. There are a lot of people who get mad, right? At like, you're not telling me anything. And it's just like, of course they're not going to tell you anything. Right. Or it's like, that's just what this person does. And yeah, it can be frustrating and irritating that this is what they do, but this is what they do. This is the dance. So for me, I was never offended necessarily at Belichick not giving you soundbite or not giving me sound bites, or like even getting the Belichick death stare one time. So I totally got one of those. And I'm just like, that's just what you do. What I was pissed off about is the one time that Belichick straight up lied about the whole Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones thing at that Chicago Bears, Monday night game 2 years ago, where he's like, it was always the plan. And everybody's like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, you're full of shit.
And then also he made Bailey Zappi, or like the media team made Bailey Zappi go out there and field questions on it, like the rookie quarterback, and not have Belichick out there take the questions first. That I got mad about. That I ripped them about. But when it comes to Mayo, it's like, look, I mean, there are sound bites all over the place that you can dissect and analyze, but I also feel like it's too much analysis and too much dissection, because there's an element of like, what he said to me doesn't actually matter. But because it's the latest thing that Mayo popped out with, that
but that's not true. It
goofy.
does matter. What it reflects is he does not have control of his organization. When he says that Gibby's going to start and Ramondre starts, he doesn't have control of organization. When he comes out and says they're not going to start Drake May until he's ready, and then they lose 6 straight and then they start Drake May, it's a reflection of the organization not having the shit.
See that.
When they come out and say Marcus Jones plays offense, and the Alex Smith goes, what? And then they start Marcus Jones. When they say Drake May's not going to do design runs, and then the next week they do design runs, he does not have control over his organization. Everything he says is hollow. It's bullshit. He's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's over his head, and he is scrambling to get above water every single time someone asks him a question. And it comes from a place of insecurity because he has not been given an opportunity to actually lead from a place of strength. He's just a caretaker of all of the nonsense around him, and he has it's not really his fault. Probably no one could.
I mean, they threw him in the deep end, and they were like, "Yeah, swim," and he's not swimming very well.
They gave him a head coaching title with no actual power, and he has no skill set or experience to actually to overtake or do anything. He can't even take over.
I feel like it's like half those things. I don't care about the Marcus Jones thing at all. Honestly, I really don't. Like, that dude's a cornerback. In an ideal world, he would not be playing offense.
No, that's crazy. They have to know that he plays offense. They have to watch the film of their team the last year and go, he was one of the only players on that team.
He didn't play offense last year. That's the thing. He didn't play offense last year. He played offense 2 years before, and new offensive coaches probably aren't, watching that. And again, they're like, he's a cornerback. Right?
Why aren't they watching quarterback?
We don't want him to play offense, and we got all these young receivers that should be playing offense. I understand the fact that it's just like, oh yeah, he plays offense. I didn't know that. That part's a little weird, but do I really care about that? Not really. The Drake May part with the designed runs, yeah, that was weird. I don't care about him. Here's the thing. I think, again, like when I was reading between the lines on the Drake May, like we're not playing him till he's ready. Again, that was not a matter to me of not having control of the organization. To me, that was a matter of, we totally know this guy can play. We're just not going to do it until we have to, because we want to season him. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I've seen other organizations do that. They'll sit up there and they'll leak crap about, oh, this guy's not ready to play. He's still got a lot to learn. He 1,000% could have started week 1. And they were just trying to put people off the scent for as long as they could have. And I have no problem with that. There are like 10 other things that Jerod Mayo has done or like, said.
It's not what they were doing, though, badly, where I'm just like, they weren't on the same page.
I think they were more on the same. I think that we thought they weren't on the same page, or that we are like, what the heck are you doing? But I think they knew exactly what they were doing.
No, they
in that case.
They didn't want him to play until later in the season. They lost 6 straight. They didn't think they were going to. They were an abysmal team. They're the worst offense in the league. They had this kid who was outperforming him. You know how we know they're outperforming him? Because Jerod Mayo came out and said he's outperformed him, even though he called it a competition and the best player would play. And then he said Drake May has outperformed
him in preseason games. That's the context.
There's no
wasn't ready to outperform him in a regular season.
They were full of shit. They didn't have a plan. They were not on the same page. Alex Van Pelt and Jerod Mayo are not on the same page. It's a dysfunctional situation, and they're the worst team in the league. Because
it was dysfunctional when the preseason, when they were saying that Drake May had a chance to start in the regular season, and then he didn't. Because Alex Van Pelt and Jerod Mayo have never been on the same page since day one.
Here's the thing. I think that is something going back to the science days. Yeah. You say that it's that he has an opportunity to start, that it's a competition. That doesn't mean that, if Drake May is a little bit better, then that means he gets a chance. That means he's the starter. That's not what that means. Okay. There's something called the null hypothesis, which is that in science, you say like, okay, if I've got 2 experimental groups that I'm testing, then one of them, in order to be considered different, has to be significantly different by multiple standard deviations. If it's like within one standard deviation, that doesn't really count, right? It's got to be like 95% different. And I don't think you could say Drake May was playing like a completely different sport than Jacoby Brissett was. I think he was outperforming him, and I think Jerod Mayo acknowledged that. But it wasn't like, oh my God, Drake May is so amazing that we absolutely have to play him. And if we don't, everybody's going to be looking at us like, what the hell are you doing? Right. And you got to admit, like, this dude's a rookie, right? Yeah, he's doing great against 2s and 3s, but they were playing him, 30% of the practice reps? Yeah. They were bringing him along with the intention to play him. And again, yes, I agree with you that they didn't want to play him as long as possible, but they were getting him ready the entire time to play. So if to Jalen me, it was not one of those deals of, like, oh, he said that he was outperforming him, so that means Drake May has to start. He wasn't outperforming him like this.
If Jalen Polk gets his foot down against Miami and Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots win that game-winning drive, does Drake May start the next week?
That's a great question. It is a great question. And my thought in the moment is probably no.
So I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but I think that's all the evidence that you need that they were forced into that position, that decision when they didn't want to do that. And it's another piece of evidence that they have just not been on the same page and cohesive from Jump Street. I mean, it's a patchwork organization put together by Robert and Jonathan Kraft that had failure written on it from the beginning. And you're the worst team in the league. You've gone backwards at every step of the direction. There's not any, there's no positivity I can take out of this season because of that, outside of maybe Drake May is a guy. Dang. And you locked into that. You walked into that with a number 3 overall pick, and you took the 3rd best quarterback off the board.
Though there's also talk that Elliott Wolf really wanted to trade down, and he had to go against his better nature, which thank goodness he did. But I think that's another one of those where, yeah, I mean, we can obviously say, like, you lucked into that. Everybody would have taken Drake May. Bill Belichick probably wouldn't have taken Drake May.
I don't know. They made him take Mac Jones at 15, so they might have made him take Drake May. And I'll tell you what, if he got Drake May instead of Mac Jones, Bill Belichick would still be coach of the Patriots. We have taken up a ton of your time, Khari. We appreciate it. A little bit of this is truly just kind of a sitting around talking sports kind of conversation, this is fun. Which was refreshing and good, and good to hear other sides of opinions for sure. So we appreciate your time and hanging out, and take a second to let everybody know where we can find you and follow you.
All right. You can follow me on X. I'm chronically online, so I'm at Khari D Thompson 5. Also on that same moniker over on Blue Sky. Also on Instagram at Khari DT, Khari, first name DT. And please subscribe to the B-Side Sports newsletter. You can find it on Boston.com. We put our stuff on there. You can also just search it, B-Side Sports. You find my name on there. I do all Boston sports, not just the New England Patriots, Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, the Boston Fleet and whatever they're going to call the women's soccer team, because they're over here getting ready to change the name. I do it all. So go ahead and follow me on there. And I look forward to interacting with all of y'all in the interwebs.
Yeah, us too. And we didn't get to the other sports. We got tangled up in the past, so we'll have to have you back and run through some Celtics talk and Sox and Bruins.
Yes, sirs. This is fun. Thanks for having me.
This was fun. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Khari.
Later, man.
See ya.
Thanks.
There he is. We didn't even ask him. God damn it. Why are there 2 Khari Thompsons?
That's what I thought you were going to end it with, you son of a bitch.
I told you to ask the question.
No, I said Bobby. It's all you.
Well, then the whole thing was derailed. They kept going.
Someone, everyone's got to get a little
I spoke up.
Dead air is
I spoke up.
You did, right? You've learned how to jump in.
I learned how to jump in.
You don't do it eloquently or well, but you do.
I just jump in. I'm just rude about it. I just fucking jump in.
I understand that. That's
Bobby just sits there and says, I wonder if that person in the closet
All of
me is
his
dead.
land's been taken too. He has no experience inherently of stepping in when things are being taken from him. Right now, too. I'm still talking about him, insulting him, his heritage, and he's just watching me do it. He has nothing to say.
He's just drying his eyes. He's just drying his eyes. All those tears
Yep.
he's dropped. All his family.
Trail of tears.
Yep.
That's it. You got it.
This has been Simple Mind Sports Show. Conversation with Khari D Thompson.
Khari D, yeah.
Boston.com. Maybe we'll get Khari A. Thompson.
Khari D.
We'll have to get him back on to ask that question.
Yeah.
Just that one question.
Well, that's the one. We just need him back on next week. Just ask that one question.
Yep. Quick question.
It'll take him half the show to answer it, but we'll have him back. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Mayo.
All right. Well,